Many scientists argue that Earthlings are not the only intelligent beings in the universe. People who have encountered alien creatures will definitely agree with their opinion. These 12 amazing stories may seem like fiction, but eyewitnesses continue to convince us otherwise. 12. Women from Kentucky at 11:15 p.m. After dinner at a Kentucky restaurant, 3 friends headed home. During the trip, they saw a disc-shaped metallic object in the sky with red and yellow lights and a beam of light emitted. The women arrived home only at 1:25, 75 minutes late. At the same time, their testimony was tested using a lie detector. 11. Kidnapping of Antonio Villas-Boas. In 1957, Brazilian farmer Antonio Villas-Boas was abducted by alien creatures. The UFO itself, as the victim later said, was egg-shaped, and the humanoids were some kind of gray overalls and helmets, in which eyes were visible. During his abduction, his blood was taken and he was forced to have sexual intercourse with an alien woman. Antoniou was later released. The kidnapping lasted just over 4 hours. 10. Kirzhan Ilyumzhinov in space. According to the Russian politician, in the 1990s, he was abducted by aliens in yellow spacesuits. He didn't know their language, but he still understood their speech. Ilyumzhinov spent about a day in space with humanoids. 9. Pascagoula incident. In 1973, aliens abducted 2 U.S. citizens, Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker, while fishing near Pascagoula, Michigan. As the men said, they saw flickering lights and an oval-shaped aircraft. According to Hickson, the humanoids were small in stature and humanoid in shape, but had no eyes or mouths, but only carrot-like growths where people's ears and noses are. Their hands were supposedly claw-like, and their legs were fused. The men were scanned and returned to Earth within 20 minutes. 8. The Lagash River incident. In 1976, 4 men boarded a boat and sailed to the middle of the Lagash River, Maine. When it got dark, the fishermen saw a flying luminous object. The UFO covered them with its light, and within a second they lost their memory for a while. All 4 were sitting on the shore near an extinguished fire. Even under hypnosis, eyewitnesses of the incredible told the same story. 7. Implant in the lower leg of Jesse Long. According to Jesse Long, at the age of 5, he and his brother discovered a round object under construction. There they were met by a tall man who momentarily blinded the children with a bright light and paralyzed them. Only years later, under hypnosis, Long was able to remember the details of that meeting. As it turned out, an implant was implanted in his lower leg. After extraction, an examination was carried out. The implant turned out to be glass of a strange composition. 6. Peter Corey and white hair. In 1992, Australian resident Peter Corey woke up in the middle of the night in his own house and saw 2 alien women, a blonde and an Asian, which is very strange. The blonde pressed Corey's head so hard against her chest that he was forced to bite her, but there was no blood. The women disappeared, and only a hair remained from the blonde, which Peter submitted for examination. The results showed a known DNA. 5. The Doctor and the Treatment of Aliens. In 1988, Dr. John Salter and his son were returning home. During the trip, they were abducted by aliens, but they did not conduct any experiments. They only erased the scar from John's forehead and awarded him the ability to heal ailments. 4. I won't give up without a fight. In 1975, during a starfall in New Mexico, Sergeant Charles Moody saw a flying saucer, after which he temporarily lost consciousness. A little later, under hypnosis, he remembered that 2 aliens had approached him, and he tried to fight them off. Extraterrestrial creatures paralyzed the sergeant and temporarily took him into their ship. It turns out they just wanted to talk to Moody. 3. The disappearance of Frederick Valentich. On October 21, 1978, Australian pilot Frederick Valentich was flying over Bass Strait. Throughout the flight, Valentich repeatedly contacted air traffic control in Melbourne and reported an unusual aircraft that was following him. He described the strange behavior of the ship and its design features. His last message read, "That strange plane is hovering over me again. It's hanging. And it's not a plane," after which the connection was lost. Neither Valentich himself nor his plane were ever discovered. 2. Fire in the Sky. The 1993 science fiction film Fire in the Sky was based on the famous alien abduction of Travis Walton. In 1975, a group of logging workers traveled to Sitgreaves Forest, Arizona. On the way to the forest, the men noticed a glow in the sky. A blue disc-shaped object hung above the clearing. One of the loggers, Travis Walton, got out of the car and approached the UFO. First, the man was illuminated by the light of a spotlight, and then a beam struck from the lower part of the object, and Travis was thrown back several feet. The frightened lumberjacks drove away, and the confused Walton was found only 5 days later. 1. The Hill Kidnapping. In 1961, the spouses Betty and Barney Hill were returning from vacation by car and began to look at a shooting star. Suddenly she began to move in their direction. Frightened, the Hills rushed into the car. Their watches stopped, and the couple could not remember the past 2 hours. Already under hypnosis, the Hills said that they had been abducted by aliens.